The daughter of a retired CIA agent is kidnapped by human traffickers. The Albanian mafia kidnaps a girl and sells her as a slave, not knowing that her father is a former CIA officer. Will he be able to save his daughter? Strap in, movie enthusiasts, it's recap time. Today, we will be explaining the blockbuster movie from 2008 titled Taken. So sit back, relax, and watch today's story until the end. The movie begins with Bryan Mills, a former officer in the US Army Special Forces. He is divorced from his wife Lenore, and the main reason for their separation was his constant focus on work, leaving no time for his family. As a result, the marriage fell apart. Bryan has a 17-year-old daughter named Kim, whom he loves deeply and cares about a lot, but she doesn't live with him. She stays with her mom and stepfather. One day, Bryan is assigned as the head of security for a pop star. After the show, a terrorist tries to attack the pop star with a knife, but Bryan manages to save her life and safely takes her home. Earlier, the pop star had brushed off Bryan when he mentioned that his daughter, Kim, also wanted to become a singer. However, after Bryan saves her life, the pop star assures him that she will do everything possible to help his daughter pursue a singing career. Bryan, excited to share this news, invites his daughter to a restaurant. Kim arrives with Bryan's ex-wife, Lenore. Before Bryan can tell her about the pop star's offer, Kim asks for his permission to go to Paris with her friend Amanda. Since Kim is 17, she needs her dad's signature for the travel forms, which is why her mom has come along as well. However, Bryan is very concerned and doesn't want her to go. Kim insists that she is only going to visit museums with her friend, but Bryan remains firm, warning her that she doesn't understand the dangers of the world and that people are always looking to take advantage of others. Upset by Bryan's refusal, Kim storms off. Lenore tells him that he sacrificed their marriage for his job and country, and if he doesn't change now, he'll lose his daughter as well. With that, she leaves too. Bryan reconsiders his decision, and feeling guilty, signs the permission form. He goes to his daughter and tells her she can go to Paris, but she must promise to call him every night. He also gives her a phone with international calling. Kim is thrilled and excited. When Bryan drops her off at the airport, he notices a map in her bag. It shows not just Paris, but several other destinations marked. Bryan realizes that his daughter lied to him. This isn't just a trip to visit museums, but a world tour. Feeling upset, Bryan confronts Lenore, who admits that Kim wouldn't have gotten permission if she had told the truth. She explains that a rock band is touring, and Kim and her friend Amanda plan to follow them to every country the band performs in. Despite his concerns, Bryan lets Kim go. Kim and Amanda leave for Paris, and as they step outside the airport, they start taking pictures. A boy approaches them and offers to take a photo of them together. After taking the photo, he asks where they're from, and they tell him they're from California. The boy then mentions how expensive taxis are in Paris and suggests they share one. The girls agree and get into a taxi with him. The boy drops them off at their accommodation and casually asks which floor and room they're staying in. Amanda naively tells him the room number and floor. After leaving, the boy makes a phone call, passing along the information that there are two American girls, about 18 years old, staying on the 5th floor. In the room, Amanda becomes very excited and turns the music up loud, dancing around the room. At that moment, Kim receives a call from Bryan. Since the music is too loud for her to hear him, she steps into the bathroom to talk. While speaking with him, Bryan reminds her to stay safe and keep him updated on everything. Suddenly, Kim notices men entering the room where Amanda was dancing. They're kidnapping Amanda. Panicked, Kim tells Bryan what's happening. He calmly instructs her not to worry, but to hide under the bed. Kim follows his instructions. Bryan, now realizing the seriousness of the situation, warns her that the kidnappers will soon find her, but she must leave her phone where it is. He tells her to observe and shout out any identifying details she notices about the kidnappers so that he can hear them. A few moments later, the men enter the room and drag her out. As they take her away, she screams out that one of the men is about 6 feet tall and has a tattoo of a crescent moon and stars on his hand. Bryan listens helplessly on the other end as Kim is abducted. Then, he hears one of the kidnappers pick up the phone. Bryan tells the man on the other end that he has spent his life pursuing people like him, and if he lets Kim go now, he won't come after him. But if he doesn't, he promises to hunt him down and kill him. The kidnapper simply replies, "Good luck," and disconnects the call. Using the description Kim gave him about the tattoo, Bryan identifies the kidnappers as part of a human trafficking ring, an Albanian group notorious for abducting young tourists, drugging them, and selling them. The entire process takes about 96 hours, meaning Bryan has only 4 days to save his daughter. Lenore, desperate, begs Bryan to bring their daughter back. Bryan tells her that first, he must find Kim. Bryan quickly travels to Paris, heading straight to the apartment where Kim and Amanda were staying. There, he finds a memory card. As he goes through the photos, he notices the reflection of the boy who had offered them a ride from the airport. Bryan realizes this boy must have given information about Kim and Amanda to the kidnappers. Armed with a photo of the boy, Bryan heads to the airport and spots him attempting to lure another tourist. Bryan grabs him and forces him into a taxi, interrogating him. However, the boy manages to escape, and in the chase that follows, he gets into an accident and dies. At this point, Bryan reconnects with an old acquaintance who used to work in French intelligence. The friend provides Bryan with the location of the red light district, where the trafficking group operates. However, he warns Bryan that these people are dangerous and advises him to stay away. Bryan responds that he will do whatever it takes, even if it means bringing down the Eiffel Tower, to save his daughter. Bryan then goes to the red light district and approaches a prostitute woman, pretending to bargain with her. While Bryan is bargaining with the woman, the leader who controls the girls in the area arrives and begins threatening him. Bryan discreetly plants a transmitter on the man's jacket and follows him to a construction site. Bryan arrives at the location and upon entering, sees several young women who have all been kidnapped and are heavily drugged. One of the girls is wearing Kim's jacket, which catches Bryan's attention. He tries to ask her where she got the jacket, but she's too drugged to understand or respond properly. Despite her condition, Bryan attempts to take her with him. Just then, the men controlling the area show up, leading to a confrontation. Bryan fights them off, manages to get the girl into his car, and escapes after causing an explosion. The explosion, however, attracts the attention of the police, as it results in casualties and injuries, even though the victims were criminals. Bryan knows he's in trouble with the local authorities, as such actions in a foreign country are dangerous. Still, his training as a former secret agent helps him evade capture. The girl, who had been unconscious, finally wakes up. Bryan asks her about Kim and the jacket. She reveals that Kim gave her the jacket at a party at a place called Blue Paradise, where a house with a red door is located. Bryan follows this lead and arrives at the house. Inside, he encounters 2 men and uses a fake police ID, claiming to be there for an inspection. He demands protection money from them, pretending to be working for the local authorities. They escort him deeper into the house, where Bryan finds a man with a crescent moon and star tattoo on his hand. The same description Kim gave him during the abduction. Although the man doesn't speak, Bryan confirms his identity by provoking him, getting him to say, "Good luck." The same words he had heard on the phone during Kim's abduction. With this confirmation, Bryan says to the man, "I told you I'd find you." He then kills all of the man's associates and captures him. Bryan starts searching for Kim, but instead finds Amanda, who has been given a fatal dose of drugs. Unfortunately, Amanda doesn't survive. Bryan brutally tortures the man for information, and finally the man confesses that Kim, being a virgin, was sold because girls like her fetch a high price. He also reveals the name of the buyer, Patrick St. Clair. However, he claims to know nothing more about Patrick's whereabouts or his business. Before leaving, Bryan leaves the man to die from electric shock. He goes directly to a former colleague, Jean, who was once an agent, but now works for the government. Bryan suspects Jean knows something and demands to know who Patrick is. Jean denies knowing anything and points a gun at Bryan. However, Bryan quickly disarms Jean, removes his bullets, and severely injures his wife. Bryan threatens Jean, saying that if he doesn't reveal Patrick's whereabouts, his children will be in danger. Terrified, Jean provides the address. Bryan heads to the location, where a lavish party is underway. As he approaches the security at the event, he shows his ID card, but the guard informs him his name isn't on the list. But Bryan manages to sneak inside by knocking out the guards. He arrives at the auction where the girls are being sold, and it's announced that it's the last bid for the night. A girl is brought out, and it turns out to be Bryan's daughter. Unfortunately, he can't rescue her openly since he's alone, and she's been drugged so she can't see clearly. During the bidding, Bryan takes one of the auctioneers at gunpoint and demands he buy his daughter. The man buys her for $500,000. As Bryan is leading the man to get Kim, he's attacked from behind and loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he's tied up, and Patrick and his men are standing in front of him. Bryan insists he's only here to get his daughter back, but Patrick explains that it's business, and if Bryan wants his daughter, he needs to buy her. He then orders his men to kill Bryan. Before Patrick's men can finish him off, Bryan manages to free himself and take them down. He confronts Patrick and demands to know where his daughter is. Patrick tries to resist, but Bryan shoots him in the arms and legs until Patrick reveals that a ship is taking his daughter away forever. In a fit of rage, Bryan kills Patrick with several more shots. Bryan rushes to the port, but the ship has already left. He steals a car and heads towards the bridge. As the ship passes beneath, Bryan jumps down and takes out the security guards one by one until he reaches where Kim is. There, he sees the old man who buys all the virgin girls. Bryan aims his gun at him and tells him to let his daughter go, but the old man takes her hostage and holds a knife to her neck. Bryan confronts him and, before he can harm Kim, strikes him on the head, killing him. After 96 hours of searching, Bryan finally finds his daughter. She runs to him, crying, and thanks him for rescuing her. Bryan reassures her that he promised he would come. He then takes her back to California, where Lenore is waiting at the airport. She hugs her Kim and thanks Bryan. Lenore now understands the importance of his work. Before leaving, Kim hugs him one last time, and Bryan, who always wanted to earn her love and trust, has succeeded. The film ends with Bryan taking Kim to the home of the pop star, who had promised to help Kim become a singer, completing the story. Thanks for watching till the end. Hope so you liked the recap. Stay tuned for more. Until then, take care.